Hello everyone! Today we're going to talk through my process for drawing the Nightwing tribe, and how I go about that. I have to say, of all the bases I've worked on so far, this definitely turned out to be one of my favorites. So, the first thing I always note when I'm drawing Nightwings, early on in the sketching phase, is that I tend to go for blockier shapes with this tribe. I minimize the serpentine S shape in the neck and tail, keeping the form a lot straighter and the limbs a lot thicker. I'm not sure why or when I started preferring to draw Nightwing stockier, but it may have something to do with their graphic novel interpretation, honestly. Even dragons like Moon and Fatespeaker, I tend to draw more on the bulky side, without the athletic slimness of Rainwings or Skywings. In-universe, this might have come about due to the harsh landscape the Nightwing tribe has been forced to endure for so long. Perhaps thousands of years ago, when they enjoyed a much easier and more luxurious lifestyle, the Nightwings were more elegant, but these days I think their bodies would be very hardy and efficient to help them survive the volcano. For me, the Nightwings are the closest we get to the conventional Western dragon in Wings of Fire. Skywings and Mudwings are also similar, but Nightwings always strike me as the most traditional. So I have that in mind when I draw them. I love the plated scales along their spine, and while I sometimes simplify those for convenience, when I do any big pieces or symbolism-heavy designs, I make sure to include them. It's a very recognizable part of their design for me. Speaking of design tips, here are a few of the ways I differentiate between Nightwings. They're a hard tribe to draw since their color palette is so limited. However, by saturating your blacks and using dark purples, blues, greens, and reds instead of simple variations of gray, you can add lots of personality, and it makes the design more visually pleasing. I can't tell you how important it is not to use true black or even super dark gray in your designs. It blends with the line art and you can take a lot away from your color palette. You can have black in a design, of course, but use a dark gray instead of actual true black. Also, for coloring tips, you can use the silver scale patterns to add some individuality as well, similar to Fatespeaker's silver bracelet scale design. I tend to give Nightwing horns a bit of a small curve, and while I like to keep it subtle, lots of people like to go the extra mile and point them forwards or curl them back under and around like a ram's horn, and that's awesome! I will say though, unlike tribes such as Rainwings or Skywings, where I give them longer back spines at the top of the neck and along their back hips, I usually keep Nightwing spines the same length and height along the entire spine. Again, this is something you can mess with on character-to-character basis, but for my base, Nightwing, I like them to be uniform. However, even with all these tricks, I still don't really enjoy drawing Nightwings. I just can't stand the darker color palette. I'm a huge fan of really bright, really varied color palettes, and even with the saturation and all that, Nightwings are just a little bland for my taste. Nightwings may be a little on the boring side for art, but as far as world building and story development, they are among the most interesting. It's very intriguing to see an entire tribe of dragons who have been so deeply affected by the traumatic experience of literally just being alive that their society and culture shifted as much as it had by the time we see them in Book 3. I mean, looking back in Darkstalker's time, they had actually seemed very advanced, with schools, markets, artists, and councils of dragons who could use their powers. Comparing this to current-day Nightwing society and the tatters of their individuality and expression is very sad. Their tribe has lost so much personality because it grew to be so difficult simply to survive that all they could do was function and survive instead of living. It's hard to imagine how that kind of generational trauma would affect the tribe, because it would change every aspect of their lives, leaving most of them simply unable to function at first when they moved to the rainforest. And yes, obviously, the Nightwing solution to this problem was objectively bad, but they had it really awful, so it lends a degree of sympathy to the situation. Anyways, that's all I'll say for now on the Nightwings. This base puts me at over halfway done, and I've only got 4 tribes left now before I finish the set. Patrons are getting to vote for the tribe I do next, so the next tribe will be decided over there. Remember to check out the description for links to my Redbubble, DeviantArt, and other sites, as well as the rest of my videos about drawing a tribe. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and comment your favorite Nightwing below. Thank you so much for watching, and please have a great week.